सर्वाधिपः सर्वदा प्रसन्नतां यानगताभिषेकस्तथा न मम्ले वनवासदुःखतः मुखाम्बुज श्रीरघुनन्दनस्य मे सदा स्तुषा मञ्जुलमङ्गलप्रदा.
Let me start with this picture. What you see here is a small monkey and it's breaking a nut using a stone. So obviously, you know that the size of the brain of a monkey and the weight between that of a human being's brain and a monkey's brain, there is an order of magnitude difference, right? About 100 grams for monkey's brain, about 140 grams or even more than that for the human brain, 1400 grams for the human brain. So now you see here, is there any scientific basis for this monkey which is breaking this nut? Obviously there is no, it doesn't know the science. It is just using a tool, it is displaying its skill to break a nut. So therefore, it is simply a technique, right? But however, if I look at this picture, you will immediately recognize that they are Ajanta caves. And what you see here is a painting which is 2000 years old. And this is Bodhisattva, Buddha's picture. And you see that these pictures have survived for last more than 2000 years. So what technology they might have used? They were drawn on dry surfaces, but still they are available to us to watch. So how did they achieve this kind of miracle, this kind of technology? Was there any scientific basis to this? Well, if you see this picture, Robert Pearl is well known to all of you, who got a Nobel Prize for inventing, for working on this fullerene, which later led to the invention of the carbon nanotubes. He was here in India to attend Indian Science Congress, and he mentioned that 2000 years ago, the artists who painted these Ajanta paintings, they actually used nanoparticles. For those hundreds of artists who lived for years in Ajanta Caves area and painted these, were they aware that they were nanoparticles? We don't yet know. Was there any scientific basis for developing such painting materials? We don't know. There must have been some basis for it, otherwise they could not have arrived at such advanced technology in those days. Now, this is wood steel is something very, very familiar across the world. It's a very, very famous steel. It is also called ukku in Telugu because this steel was made hundreds of years ago in a small region in Telangana, from which I come from. And you see here, these small circles that you see here, they are actually carbon nanotubes. Were they aware that they were using these carbon nanotubes in this steel? In fact, this wood steel was exported for hundreds of years from India to the other countries, and that is how you heard of the Damascus swords, where this steel is used for making these kind of weapons, right? So you can see that there was technology thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, and it must have been based on some kind of scientific approach. And we know that technology means what? Technology is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. Now, when I say for practical purposes, how did the technology originally start? If you look at this picture, you see here, we began our technology by making simple tools. And when I look at these tools, you see that there are different kind of materials that are used here. It could be steel, it could be wood, it could be something else. And each tool has a particular application. So So when I say technology, it is not physical objects, physical tools, even software is technology now. And if I look at this, there is a rocket, and there is a lot of technology here. How do you make these fuels which are so dense and with a lot of energy? And there is a lot of electronics here, communication here, and when this rocket takes a satellite and puts it in space, and if I'm using it for my satellite communications, for my internet communications, I'm providing services. Therefore, the meaning of technology has now changed from simple tools to software to even services. So, technology is all encompassing now. And technology has become part of our life so much that I'm sure there will be at least one person here who is finding it very hard not to check a message in the cell phone. Right? It has become part of our life. And often we come across parents who proudly tell that, my kid is just 1 year old and he can operate the laptop, he can operate the cell phone. But unfortunately, when technology becomes so much part of our lives, it affects our own, the way we interact with each other, the way we lead our life. It will change even our cultural aspects in our life. Now, we may be very happy that a small kid is able to handle this laptop, but yesterday I found that if you excessively make it accessible to the kids, cell phones, touchpads, and so on, it will affect their motor ability, and it will not let their fingers develop properly. So, technology is good for us, it will provide us a comfortable life, but it also has detrimental effects, and we need to be careful about that. And kids learn technology very fast. And you can recognize the fellow there. He is talking to a kid, and he's saying that you do my website, and I will do your homework. And I'm sure in the audience, there may be many of you here who cannot manage your own website. But if you ask your kid, they will be able to write a simple code and manage a website. It's very easy now. So this is the picture. These are the tribals from Manipur. They have come for a tax program, and you can see everybody busy checking their messages on the cell phone. So culturally also, the technology is affecting us. And I'm very fond of showing this in every lecture. Here, to mother and father, they are sending a message to their kid, and it says, "Dear Andy, how have you been? Your mother and I are fine. We miss you. Please sign off your computer and come downstairs for something to eat, love dad." And this is happening in all our lives. And technology has penetrated in our lives so much that, of course, technology is making things very, very small, but it's also affecting us. The arrow there is unintentional, but it's also affecting us, right? And if you think only people like you and me are affected, even saints seem to be getting affected by technology. Blame it on the materialistic life I had had, but whenever I meditate on the secrets of longevity, I cannot think beyond lithium polymer rechargeable batteries. And if you think somebody drowning in a lake, you and me 10 years ago would have jumped to save that person. But this is what happens here. You think, well, many of you have actually laughed, right? It's not a laughing matter. Just today I found this news in Times of India. It says, people in the bus made videos of my brother being killed. You see, so it's not a laughing matter anymore. It is changing the way we live, right? So technology is affecting us in a very, very serious way. And a baby is just pulled out, and the mother is with a laptop on Facebook, and it says, "Doctor, please tell me, is it boy or girl? I want to update the status on Facebook." So everywhere you can see technology is affecting us. And why has it happened? Because technology has become very, very accessible to you. As you know, with the evolution of the semiconductor technology, since 1970s onwards, when we started using the complementary metal oxide integrated semiconductor integrated circuits, you're all aware of the Moore's law, how we try to reduce the size of the electronic devices and pack more devices in a given area, pack more functions, so the cost has come down and the electronic devices have become more available, they have become more mobile, and everybody can access these technological advances. So, but how have we arrived at this? Predominantly because of the advances that have taken place in semiconductor technology, and later, of course, in computer science. And these results are then used in other areas such as physics, genetics, and so on. Now, when we talk about technology, how it has advanced, can any one of you recognize what that object is? Can any one of you tell? It's a human hair, and if you look at, and it looks so dirty. The diameter of the human hair, the average diameter is about 60 to 70 microns. But if I go down below these dimensions, I can actually, if this dimension is only 10 nanometers, 20, 30 nanometers, and so on, I can make very interesting materials. I can make nanowires, I can make nanoparticles, I can make nanoflowers, I can make nanorods, and so on. When the material becomes so small, the properties of this small scale material is totally different from that of the properties of a bulk material. And therefore, you can come up with some innovative applications when you work at those small dimensions. And that is what has led us to the generic term, what we call now as nanotechnology. Everybody, of course, claims that I am working in nanotechnology, but it began with the semiconductor technology, right? So, now, when the science began in olden days, if you look at 200 years ago, 150 years ago, a physicist could be a chemist, an electrical engineer could be a physicist, a biologist could be a chemist. There were no boundaries at all. But later on, you had all these areas. But now, when we are working at such small dimensions, at nanoscale, the boundaries between subjects have disappeared. We had to work across the interdisciplinary areas in order to develop science and technology. And that is what has led to the nanotechnology, and it has immense applications, whether it is medicine, bioengineering, nanoelectronics, the area in which I work, textiles, energy, communication, security, and so on. So the technology has become part of our life, and it also has detrimental effect on us. So what has happened? In spite of those technological advances, why are we talking about sustainability? So let me show you a picture. This could be life maybe 200 years ago, 100 years ago, where people were living in harmony with the nature. Life was difficult in those days, but it was socially rewarding and personally satisfying because people were helping each other and they were living in harmony with each other. But with advances in technology, what has happened today? This is a street in Delhi, and you can find out every person is going in a different direction, right? In all 360 directions. And you can see how life has become very, very stressful and complex. And why has this happened? Well, this has happened because we moved from that simple living where abundance was around us. We moved into a situation of scarcity, and we have become more and more urban living human beings. And when it is an urban setting like this, you require a lot of inputs, you require a lot of materials, you require energy to run this system. But unfortunately, this has become a no return path for energy and materials. And what would be the output of this system, this urban system? You will generate a lot of heat, and you will generate a lot of waste and toxic materials. And that has what happened as a result of absorption of technology without really applying our mind. Now, that is the reason why we need to talk about sustainability. When the Industrial Revolution started, we thought development means meeting the needs of the people who are living in those times. But you see, even today, this is a picture of Bombay, and you can see thousands of people living in the slums in the backdrop of those multi-story buildings. Even if you understand development in the conventional meaning, we are not able to meet the needs of the people in the current time itself. But the real sustainability is when we develop things for the present time without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. That is what we call sustainability. can imagine when we are not able to meet current needs itself, when we have to think about our future generations, therefore you can see how and why sustainability becomes an important topic for all of us to discuss. Now, how do we achieve sustainability? And what are the pillars of this sustainability? Earlier we used to think that sustainability means don't destroy the environment, maintain live in harmony with environment, right? Don't exploit environment. But however, now there is increasingly experts think that sustainability has actually three components. It has environment, it has economy, and society. And all these three entities have to work in a harmonious manner. Only then you can realize sustainability. So let me look at environment. What does environment consist of? And why should we worry about environment? You of course talk about biodiversity whenever you talk about environment. And nature has different varieties of life beings, right? Scientists have found maybe about 2 million species, but there could be about 30 million diverse life forms on Earth. And they work in such a way that they exist harmoniously, and the ecology, the system in which they live, it is maintained in a balanced manner. But however, the materials that we use, that is also important to maintain a sustainable environment. What are the materials that we use? Food, for example, right? Water and building materials and so on. There are different kinds of materials that we need to use. But when nature uses materials, it uses in a continuous way. Just to give you an example, how does nature use materials? This is something that you're all familiar with, the hydrologic cycle, right? So the water evaporates through different forms, and then it condenses, and precipitation takes place, and the rivers flow, and because of the seeping in the ground, you have the groundwater, and this entire cycle is complete, right? So this is how there is a continuous way of using materials in nature. And if you look at this, there is a dead horse here, and the dead horse is being eaten by a bird there, right? A vulture. And this is a kind of cleaning of the environment. Now, when the bird eats all the flesh, the bones may be left over, and some other animals may come and eat, or some insects may eat, and you see there is a complete recycling. And that is how you have continuous usage of the materials. But however, when human beings started using these materials, we have destroyed this continuous nature of usage of the materials. One good example of this is the e-waste. All of you are familiar with the e-waste, because when I want to maintain a sustainable environment, it is important that this biosystem and the materials, they interact in a harmonious manner. So the biophysical interactions are very, very important, and that is completely broken by the human beings. E-waste is a very good example of this discontinuity brought in by the human beings. And in East Asia, in South Asia itself, in the last 5 years, about 60 to 70% increase of the e-waste is there. And we don't know where to dump them. The biggest problem with the e-waste removal is that if I look at the composition of this e-waste, most of the e-waste consists of metals. 60% of the e-waste is metals, and there are some plastics and circuit boards and other acids and so on. Now, we don't have any proper ways of recycling this e-waste. And the simplest way is you dissolve them in some acid and extract these metals. But then you are also producing a lot of toxins. So, as an example, you see how humans are bringing this discontinuity in the usage of the materials and affecting the environment. Oh, this is a picture of a bullock cart. For some of you who are from other countries, you might not have seen this bullock cart. There is now increased awareness cell phone, it's not easy. You rather throw it out and buy another cell phone. So now there is an increased awareness that you design these electronic systems so that if my speaker is not working, I should be able to pull out that speaker and put another speaker instead of throwing out the entire system. Now, if you look at this Buller card, since childhood I am used to it, you see how many materials are used in this Buller card? Just gold, iron, and then the locally available fiber to make these ropes. So there are only three materials, and all these three materials are reused and recycled. And as a boy in my village, I used to ride this Buller cart with my mother sitting in the back. And you can see how people who are not aware with advanced technology are indeed practicing their lifestyle in such a way that most of the materials can be repaired, can be recycled, right? So that is what we need to do. The other important aspect of environment is the way we are using the energy. If you imagine the lives of people who lived 200 years ago, 300 years ago, they were using far, far less energy as compared to what we are doing now. For example, today the average power consumption in US, for example, is about 11 kilowatts per day. In Europe, it's about 5.5 kilowatts per day. In India, it's about 1 kilowatt per day. So the average power consumption is about 2 kilowatts per day on Earth, in the human societies. But as the population grows, the average power consumption may go up to 4 kilowatts per day. And with about 10 billion human beings on Earth, it may go to something like 4 terawatts of power. How are you going to produce this power? That is a major challenge for us, because any energy generation is going to affect the environment. Now, if you look at the patterns of energy consumption source-wise, unfortunately today we use coal, natural gas and oil for most of our energy requirements. And please remember that they are not replaceable. They are not replenishable, because Earth has only fixed amount of coal, natural gas and oil. And if you look at the renewable energy sources, that is only about 3%. So our focus has to shift from coal, natural gas and oil to renewable energy resources. Out of these 3%, the solar power accounts for only about 1.5% across the board. And that is why there is a lot of interest in looking at this solar power. Let me skip that. You see, this is the investments made in the renewable energy. There is increased awareness now that we need to shift from non-renewable energy sources to renewable energy sources. And if you look at the developed countries, which is the darker green, and the developing countries, which is the light green, you can see that the investments are actually going up in the developing countries. And now across the globe, there is increased investment in the renewable energy sources. Here you see that among the developing countries, compared to 2015 and 2016, the investment has come down for some serious reasons. China has stopped investing in renewable energy sources. And that is the reason why the investment in renewable energy sources in 2016 has slightly fallen down. But now this is driven by countries like India and other African countries. And if you look at India, what is the potential of producing is not as rapid as the development that we are seeing in the other areas of technology such as semiconductor technology. Well, the one thing that we could do during last 10-20 years is to move away from the liquid-based batteries to small size, compact, dry batteries, right? But right. This picture is not very clear. Let me skip that. The important material that is used in today's dry batteries is lithium, right? There are various kinds of lithium batteries that are being developed. We started with lead acid and then lithium ion, lithium sulfur. One of the important design parameters of a battery is that its volume should be less and its weight should be less, and for a given weight it should give you more power, and that is what is indicated here. The specific energy watts hour per kg per kilogram, and that is actually increasing when you go to lithium air batteries, because I don't have to keep sulfur. The moment I remove sulfur and I substitute that air with air, oxygen is simply drawn into the battery and it reacts with the lithium electrode and generates the ions and the current. So therefore the weight can decrease tremendously if I use lithium air batteries. So when we are discussing about environment, when we are discussing about how energy requirements are increasing and why we have to move into renewable energy resources, we got stuck with the battery technology. And a country like India needs to focus on developing this battery technology. Otherwise, the solar power that we are intending to use in future will not be possible at all. And another thing that we need to see is whenever you are developing technologies such as this, there are only 3 major manufacturers in the world for batteries. Can you name them? LG, Samsung and Panasonic. 55% of the batteries are manufactured in China. And the major material that is required for making these batteries is lithium. And there are only 3 countries in the world which can supply lithium: Australia, Chile, and Argentina. So you should not excessively be dependent on any single country if you are developing any technology. So the source material also is important. So we should not get stuck with lithium-based batteries. Perhaps this is time for us to look at other materials so that good batteries which are small in size, small in weight, but high in efficiency are produced. And there is a lot of chemistry here and electrical engineering. And it's a great opportunity for chemists and electrical engineers to take the solar power energy applications forward by developing the battery technology. So energy is another important issue. Now let me look at economy. All along we thought only environment is important, but economy is controlled by several things: the technologies that you develop, and the capital investment that is required, and then you require money for sending the goods across, and you require markets, and you need to provide employment to the people, right? And all these things will drive the economy. Unless we have a good, stable economy where people have enough money to meet their needs, to lead a decent life, a healthy life, no economic system is useful, right? Therefore, we should try to build robust economic systems. Now, how do we do that? See, in economy, food is a very, very important issue. As I have mentioned here, the only 24% of the vegetated land is 24% of the vegetated land is suffering degradation in India, and you see that the agriculture is contribution to GDP is declining, and you see that 70% of the global fresh water is used for agriculture. So can we develop some technologies so that agriculture becomes efficient, and which in turn can boost the economy? And so that is where I think we need to help the farmers to develop ways of producing the food items, the grains, the crop, using simple methods. One way is people like us develop simple tools to help the farmers. Soil moisture is see here, after the harvest is over, farmers do not know what to do. Well, of course, in my childhood, I used to see in my own farm, farmers used to plow these leftovers and mix with the soil so that it becomes, it will enrich the soil. But today, farmers burn them. One of our own professors at JNU, Professor Mohan, he has come up with a simple way of converting this dry biomass into biochar, right? And this biochar has various applications. It can be used for producing biofuels, and it can be used to minimize the impact on climate and various other things, especially the soil enhancement. Soil enrichment can be done because biochar is a fibrous material. It can hold the moisture there and release it at a slow rate so that the growth of the plants is controlled. This is the area where there is no biochar applied here. 5 tons of biochar per hectare is applied here, and 15 tons of biochar is applied here in that field. And you can see the difference in the plant growth, and therefore ultimately it will have an impact on the yield. Economy is affected if people fall sick very often. The man hours are lost. That is one aspect. We of course want our people to live healthily. But in India, you know that the rural health infrastructure is very, very poor, and it is the responsibility of people like you and me to develop these healthcare systems. I go to my village every 3-4 months, and if I fall sick in my village when I go there, I have to travel to a nearby town which is about 30 kilometers. So, therefore, there is a lot of responsibility on us to develop tools which can help people to remain healthy. This is one example that I wanted to show you. It is called silicon rocket. It's a device which can be hung on you, and it will monitor your heart. In case of any trouble with your heart, it will immediately send an email, a message to a nearby doctor, and the doctor can then examine the patient. And TCS is the industry partner here, and Bombay has developed this, and this product is already being manufactured. Security is another issue which can affect the economy, right? If there are terrorists and bombing cities, obviously you will not have investment coming in. So it is therefore important that we remain secure, we prevent such events from happening. This is another example of how nanotechnology can be used to develop simple detecting systems. This is a handheld detecting system. It simply uses a cantilever kind of device, and it can detect explosives, it can be used for medical diagnosis, and even it can be used for detecting hazardous gases. Right? These are simple tools that can help us in leading a healthy and secure life. Water is a major problem in India. Right? Many people do not have access to simple drinking water. Can we develop some simple ways of providing good water to them? If good water is provided to them, if they live a healthy life, if they are effectively working in their fields, and it will boost your economy, right? Everything is interlinked. So this is an example from IIT Madras where I studied. I was a student there. Few years ago, few professors and students have come together, and using nanoparticles, they have come up with a simple method of refining the water. And the beauty of this method is that it doesn't require any electricity. It simply works through gravity. And it also removes poisonous materials such as arsenic. Arsenic as a contaminant is a major problem in certain districts such as West Bengal. So this kit is now being tested across the country. Can we build affordable houses for our people? Housing is a major problem for all of us. So can we replace these bricks using some other materials? There is a video here, unfortunately it is not playing. This is again from IIT Madras, my matter. A few years ago, the professors and students there, they have used a new material called reinforced gypsum. Using this material, you can build a 2-story house in about 10 days, and you can build it at the cost of maybe about 1/10 of the normal construction cost, right? And it is earthquake proof. So we need to come up with technological solutions to help people so that they can lead an efficient life, which in turn will boost. India has several millions of people who are visually impaired. They are also like us. Can we help them to participate in life like us so that they lead a normal life and they also contribute to the society? This is where we have developed at IIT Delhi, where I work. I am a professor there in Department of Electrical Engineering. A group of students and professors there, they have developed a simple stick. We call it a white crane, a smart crane, which can be used by the visually impaired people to navigate through very difficult obstacles. It is now being used by several partner organizations, the visually challenged groups across the country. This is the nano research facility with which I am associated at IIT Delhi. Now, when we are talking about economy, when we are talking about making people live in a healthy fashion, in an efficient fashion, it is our scientific knowledge and it is our innovation, our technology which will help the society to lead a healthy life. And therefore, for all of us, for youngsters like you, the guiding principle for us should be not only do just the basic research, but educate the future scientists and take these basic research ideas and incubate them, and then commercialization with a social impact. The devices that I have shown earlier, they were not meant to be to make profit, to build industrial empires. These are designed and manufactured with a social impact. So, economy is another issue that we need to worry. The last one I would like to mention, and I will take a few minutes to complete this, is the society. A sustainable world cannot be built by just having a good environment and a robust economy. We also need to look at this society. This is important because this society, in that society, if you want to build a harmonious, a happy society, we need to worry about the equity. We need to make things accessible to everyone depending on their capabilities. So therefore, we need to worry about the human diversity that is present, right? And depending on the strengths and the opportunities have to be created then, so that the quality of life will improve. And it's also important that in any society, the institutional and organizational structures that we build, they are extremely important. Do you have a democratic system to run your country, or do you have a president for life, as we are hearing in newspapers nowadays? Right? So these are important aspects because it is these institutional and organizational structures which will make decisions at the local level, at the state level, at the national level, at the global level. Therefore, we need to have robust structures. And if you want to build a society which is harmonious and robust, it is important that what are the elements on which we need to focus. There is increased understanding now among scientists, social scientists, and philosophers that we must be less materialistic. This is very, very important. And we must use less energy. And then we should be socially inclusive. Any technology, any advances that are taking place should not be beneficial only to a section of the society. Everybody should have access to that. And there should be emphasis on neutral values such as love, compassion, and a sense of sharing, which are now missing in our society. We have become so self-centered. We have become almost like curiosity-driven, pleasure-seeking human animals. And if we continue to live like that, it is impossible to develop a sustainable society. So therefore, if you want to achieve a sustainable society, it is important that we focus on values, because it is the values which will bring a connectedness within myself to my surroundings, to my people around, to my village, to my city, to my society, to my country. So therefore, it is very, very important. And when we talk about values, they are at two different levels. At one level, when I talk about values, it may be my effort to surmount my own self-ego. So it's an internal process. At a different level, when I talk about values, it is working for others. I want to make a difference through my actions, right? So this is an external one. So both externally and internally, it is important that we develop a value system. It will then make us more responsible. When we are responsible, and if we think twice about the actions that we are performing, how it will affect others. Today, there is too much of emphasis on personal autonomy. When I say personal autonomy, I will make decisions without really worrying about how it will affect others. As long as it satisfies me, I am happy. That is what is happening today. I think we need to be more responsible. And then you need to work out strategies to come up with ways and means of building this sustainable society. So I believe that these are the basic things that should happen. We should worry more about relational care for each other rather than indulging in mindless competition. That is a value system, right? We should remember that there is a lot of diversity, and we should use this diversity as a strength rather than indulging in identity politics. And you see here from Bhagavad Gita, it says, in all actions, consider the common good, right? It is not the personal autonomy that Bhagavad Gita is talking about. It is talking about the societal good, right? So that is important for us. And in Mahabharata, it is said that dharma exists for the welfare of all beings. Hence, that by which the welfare of all beings is sustained, that for sure is dharma. That is what is about sustainability. When we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about a harmonious coexistence of all the systems that makes up this universe. So there is a prayer which says, may the world be happy. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Quality of life is very, very important than just standard of living. You may be president of a country. You may be a multi-billionaire. But at the end of the day, when I go back to my bedroom, sit on my bed quietly and close my eyes and think, what thoughts come to your mind? Are you happy with yourself? That is what. Are you in equilibrium with yourself? Or are you burnt by the feelings of jealousy, anger, anxiety? So, therefore, it is important that we should work towards the happiness of everybody. So, I feel that not only just values, responsibility, and strategies, we must have a feedback so that these strategies strengthen our values, we become more responsible, and our strategies become adaptable strategies. We should not have static strategies, right? So, we need to reinforce them, because it is only a feedback such as this will let us to critically think and reevaluate our strategies to build a sustainable society. So, let me say the Upanishad prayer which says, Sahaviryam Karvavahai. May we work together energetically. It is the responsibility of all of us to work together responsibly to build this sustainable world. So to conclude, my friends, I say that this Nataraja, this Shiva dance pose, symbolizes the concept of sustainability. You see, this Nataraja is standing on this demon, which represents ignorance. We should come out of this ignorance. And the flames that you see here, that represent energy, that represents dynamism. So, and the Shiva is very finely balancing on one foot there. So, you see that we should come out of this ignorance. And we should be energetic and dynamic and live a balanced life in this universe. And that is the only way we can achieve a sustainable world. Thank you very much.
Please sit down, don't move away. Please. Thank you, sir, for a very enlightening talk and details about science and technology for sustainable future. Now I request Dr. Rupesh Chaturvedi to present a memento to our Vice Chancellor, and this is to inform you that our chief guest.
जब आप शारीरिक सौंदर्यता बढ़ानी होती है तो आप जिम में जाते हैं, लेकिन जब आपको पर्सनैलिटी तो इम्प्रूव करनी हो, साथ साथ ही मानसिक पर्सनैलिटी इम्प्रूव करनी हो, तो आप कहाँ जाएंगे? उसके लिए आपको जाना होगा विज्ञान के जिम में। देश का पहला विज्ञान जिम कहें या यूँ कहें कि देश का पहला विज्ञान चैनल है विज्ञान आओ करके सीखे। प्रगति विज्ञान संस्था का यह चैनल अपने आप में एक विज्ञान जिम है, जहां पर आपकी और आपके बच्चों की मानसिक पर्सनैलिटी इम्प्रूव होती है।